There we go. Wait. There we go. Yeah, okay. So sorry about that. Lesson 16, okay? Categorical associations. So our categorical, it refers to our categorical variable. And associations is referring to associates, right? So essentially, if you are associated with something, that means you are related or you're connected in some way. There is some sort of relationship between that. So if you say like this is my associate or we're associated together, that means there's some sort of connection between you. So the word associations is essentially, a connection or a relationship. So when we talk about categorical associations, we're talking about relationships or connections with categorical variables. Okay. So if you guys remember, categorical variables are those variables that have values that are words, right? Or categories. So we're talking about those kinds of variables. So our objective for today is what you're going to learn. Students will learn to construct, interpret, and calculate the joint relative frequencies of two-way frequency tables. Okay, so there's a lot of vocab there. Joint relative frequencies, okay, two-way frequency tables. Okay, so the word frequency should be ringing a bell for you. Okay, frequency, if you remember, means to like the number or a tally or a count, right? So tallying something or counting. If we're talking about categorical variables, or when we're talking about how many times an observation, falls into that specific category, either that could be like male or female, that could be yes or no, that could be an age group, that could, whatever categories there are, right? We count how many of our observations are in those categories. So we're going to be learning a way to visually represent, okay? This brings us to our why. Knowing how to create and read two-way frequency tables allows you to create visual representations of how two categorical variables relate to each other, okay? So this is a way for us to make a visual representation of how categorical variables relate to each other, how they're connected. Okay, how are you going to show me that you know this? Well, you're going to choose your own variables, you're going to write your own questions, and then you're going to create a two-way frequency table with a decent amount of accuracy, 70%, so that's a C or better, okay? So the essential concept for today, a two-way table is a summary of the association or relationship between two categorical variables. Joint relative frequencies answer questions of the form, what proportion of the people or objects had this value on the first variable and this value on the second variable? So if you have two variables, right, you can say like, okay, so how many people had a yes here and a no there? How many people had a yes and a yes? How many people had a no and no, right? So you can look at that comparison. So we're going to read this scenario. I'm going to give you guys 1 minute, okay? I'm giving you 1 minute, and I want you to read through this scenario, okay? Just read it purposefully, mindfully. So ready, go. Okay. So what are some numbers that jump out at you?
35, 35, 16, 7, and 9.
Okay, so what do those numbers mean? What is
Like
35?
how many students are in the art class?
Okay, good. So there's 35 students in our art class. Okay,
And
what else?
then the 16 means like how many of those 35 students, how, how many of those 35 students owned a cat? You know
Okay.
that?
Okay, so the 16 represents how many owned a cat, right?
Mhm.
What about this 7 right here?
Like how many students play the instrument who own the cat?
Very good. So this 7 represents the number of kids that owned an instrument and or I'm sorry, played an instrument and owned a cat, right?
Yeah.
And then it goes on to tell us some more information. So we have a 9 there and we have another 9 there. And each of them represent some variation. Yes?
Yes.
Good. So Rosa, thank you, Alex. You done well. You done good, hun. Um, so Rosa conducted her own little like data collection, right? So in order to do so, she had to ask 2 questions, right, to specifically get her data for her two-way frequency table. What do you think the 2 questions had to be for her to get data for her frequency for her information? So she wanted to know like stuff about cats and stuff about playing instruments, right? So what are 2 questions that she could ask to find out? Like what's a question she could ask to find out um you know if the kids owned a cat? You guys can unmute and speak, right? Dallas, you got a cat? um, okay, so how many classmates in my class own a cat and how many don't? Yeah, Janelle. Valerie, who owns a cat? How many cat owners play an instrument? Interesting. Okay. Do you own a cat? Okay. So, Katie, you hit the nail on the head. Okay. It does not have to be a elaborate question. It could literally be as simple as, do you own a cat? And then her second question for the second variable there would be, do you play an instrument? Right? So you guys are combining the two into one question. And honestly, you don't have to. You can ask 2 very basic, simple questions. Do you own a cat? Do you play an instrument? Right? That still gives you the same amount of information. Right? So if you ask a person, do you own a cat? They'll tell you if they do or they don't. And then you'll ask the same people, do you play an instrument? And they'll tell you if they do or they don't. And then you'll keep a tally. This many people own a cat, and then this many people play an instrument. Oh, look, this is the same person, so they're counted there, right? So her 2 variables here are very simply playing an instrument and owning a cat, right? So her 2 variables are owns a cat and plays an instrument. So when she asks this question here, if you ask someone, do you play an instrument? What are the possible values for that variable? What are the possible responses to that variable? Like if I asked you, do you play an instrument? Or if I asked you, do you own a cat? What are the values for those variables? Um, I'm seeing some responses in our chat. Okay. Sarai and Maddie seem to say that the responses would be yes or no for the values. Trinity agrees. Okay, if you agree, if you is there anyone that disagrees and thinks that there's going to be a different value other than yes or no? Okay, so it looks like most of us agree. Yeah, Our two values here are going to be yes or no, right? Do you play an instrument? Yes or no. Do you own a cat? Yes or no, right? So what we're going to do, so to be clear, right? Rosa's two variables that she thinks are associated together, her two variables that she thinks are connected, are that kids that own a cat play an instrument, right? She wants to know if people own a cat, are they more likely to play an instrument? Those are her two variables, right? So the two questions that she asked to get information about those variables are, do you play an instrument? And do you own a cat? Okay. So her two variables were cat ownership and playing an instrument. And her two questions were, do you play an instrument? And do you own a cat? Okay. So once she gathers data on that, she can then create a two-way frequency table. Okay. And see if there's any relationship between these two categorical variables. So what we're going to do right now is we are going to, I'm going to exit out of this. Hold on.
Hold on, I'm still writing. Oh wait, how am I supposed to write this down?
Say that one more time, Alexander.
How am I supposed to write this down?
Yes, anytime you see your little notebook in the corner, right? That's notes. So we're going to create a two-way frequency table, and if you can see here, right? One of my variables was playing an instrument, and notice that my columns here, I have two columns that have to do with an instrument. I have plays an instrument, which would be yes, right? I play an instrument, or doesn't play an instrument, which would be responses that are no, I don't play an instrument. Okay. And then over here on the rows, I have about cat ownership. Has a cat, right? That would be yes, I own a cat. Doesn't have a cat would mean no, I don't own a cat. And then notice we have a column that says total, and we have a row that says total. Okay. So each of these totals, right, it's for the continuing line. So the total for kids that play an instrument, that doesn't matter if they have a cat or not. The total of the kids that play an instrument would go right down here. The total of the kids that don't play an instrument, again, doesn't matter if they have a cat or not, you total these up, that would go right here. Okay, so you're essentially adding that vertically. Having a cat and not having a cat, those totals would go horizontally right over here and right over here. Whatever these two totals are for these responses, it should always add to equal the total number of observations that you have. So we have a 35 here because there's a total of 35 kids in the actual class, right? So what we're going to do right now is we are going to go into breakout rooms. Okay, we're going to go into breakout rooms. And what I'm going to have you guys do in your breakout rooms is you are going to go into the 1.16 group activity. Okay, you're going to go into the group activity. The link is on our section 3 page. Okay, but I am going to put it in the chat just in case right now. There you go. Okay, and in your groups, you will have 5 minutes. Okay, you will have 5 minutes to read Rosa's scenario. Again, it's on there. Okay, as you can see, Rosa's scenario is actually on every single one of these slides. So you're going to go onto your breakout room slide, and you're going to read Rosa's scenario, and you're going to fill in this table with the numbers. Okay, you're going to fill in the table with the numbers and pay attention, right? This is kind of like a Punnett square. Where there's an intersection of column and row, that's essentially where that number should go. So in this box right here, this is plays an instrument and has a cat. So the kids that play an instrument and have a cat, that tally, that frequency will go right there. Over here will be plays an instrument and doesn't have a cat. So any kids that play an instrument and don't have a cat, that number, that frequency will go right there. Okay. So I'm going to open the rooms. You literally have 5 minutes. That's it. 5 minutes. Okay. So go for it. Oh, you know what? There's 2 of you that were unassigned to a room. So put you in there. And let me put you in there. Okay. Let's see here. Almost done. They're working. Okay, what's happening? Breakout room 9. Hey guys, what's happening? I'm not seeing a lot of action on your slide.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're here or not. So.
Okay, so Chris, are you gonna work on it independently?
Yeah, I'll try. I
Okay,
guess I'll do it by myself.
yeah, do it for yourself so you can get the credit. And if they don't participate, don't write their names on the slide.
All right.
Okay, then that means they'll be losing their participation points for the day. So you worry about you, hon. If you're here, William, then that means you need to be collaborating with Christopher. You're not on the slideshow. I don't see you on the slideshow, Will. I'm gonna put it in the chat again. If you're gonna participate, participate. It's not just about being here, it's about actually participating. Okay. All right, let's see. Okay. All right, so if we take a look at what you guys went ahead and showed us. Oh, that is not how I wanted to view this. Present mode? No, I didn't want to present it either. Oh, I went to grid. Oh, there we go. Okay, was that it? Yeah. And technical difficulties, cue now. Um, okay, so let's take a look at what you guys did. All right, so breakout room 1, okay. We got 7 kids that play an instrument and have a cat, 9 that don't play an instrument and have a cat. So that means 16 total kids, right? That was actually in the story. And then over here we were told 9 owned a cat but did not play. I'm sorry, down here, sorry. 9 students who didn't own a cat or played an instrument. So no cat and no instrument here. And then you guys kind of had to fill in the rest, right? Kind of had to fill in the rest. So we have 10 students, 10 kids that didn't play an instrument but don't have a cat here. Right, that was not given to you. That you're absolutely correct, Janelle. So you kind of had to work backwards, right? So let's see if there's any differences in your breakout room. So Alex, Amani, Katie, and Natalie, you guys got the 10 there for 10 there. Yeah, Janelle, you're sharing some great stuff. Can I copy and paste that to everyone? Janelle is giving me a play-by-play here on how they went ahead and calculated and worked backwards. So I put that in the chat. So I'm gonna look through Trinity, Ishmael, Alexis, and Jeremiah. Y'all did great. Let's see, right? A key check, a good check for you guys is if you add these totals, they should equal the total number of observations. If you add these totals, they should equal the total number of observations. So if you have numbers and you add the totals and they don't equal your total number of observations here, like 35, something went wrong, right? Okay, so over here we got, yep, that looks good. Good job, Ethan, Natalie, Tyrese, and George. Let's see, Janelle, Davante, Jade, and David. Yes, good job. Although right over here, guys, you made a 1, boo-boo. 7 plus 10 is 17, right? So, yeah, thank you, Janelle. You're on that right away. Good job. There you go. And then check that, David. There you go. Checking that math, y'all. Look at that. Sarai, Valerie, Evelyn, and Kenya. Good job. Vicky, Gabriella, Munya, and Andrea. Great job, you guys. Let's see over here. We got Alex, Dario, Maya, and Steph. Well done. Well done. Dallas, Maddie, and Destiny. Well done. These girls came back and had a chat with me because they own it. All right, and Chris and William, well done, dudes. Great job. Great job, guys. So yes, okay, so Janelle was giving us that play-by-play of how they figured out this 10. Well, first of all, how do you figure out this 19 right here, right? Because in reality, you got to figure out the 19 before you can figure out the 10. So Janelle was saying that they just subtracted the 35. They did 35 minus 16 because they knew 16 kids had a cat. That means 35 minus 16 kids, 19 kids would not have a cat. Okay, so 19 kids don't have a cat, so that the total of kids that don't have a cat is 19. Now, we also knew that 9 kids didn't have a cat and didn't play an instrument, right? So we knew that this intersection right here was 9. So if the total is 19 that don't have a cat and 9 kids don't play an instrument and don't have a cat, then that means 10 kids play an instrument and don't have a cat, right? So it's like you got to do that backwards mathematical thinking. Okay, some algebra for you. Well done, guys. Well done. So let's go back here, and you guys knocked it out of the park with our table here. Okay, let me present this. Okay, y'all knocked it out of the park with the table. Well done. So you should have this table written in your notes for you. The next thing I want us to think about is looking at this table, right? And this information that's on the table. I want you guys to generate questions. Oh, my bad, went backwards. Hold on. There we go, sorry. I want you guys to generate questions that can be asked and answered by the data. So what kind of questions can you ask that this data is specifically answering, right? So what kind of specific questions can you actually ask that this data is actually answering? So this is going to be our IDS entry. Dang it. This is going to be our IDS entry for the day. So I want you guys to go to your section 3 IDS journal. You should see under lesson 16, you should see this table right here, and you should see this direction right there. It says generate questions that can be asked and answered by the data. I'm going to give you guys 3 minutes. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 minutes to generate 2 to 3 questions, right? I want you guys to think about 2 to 3 questions that can be asked and answered by this table right here. Okay, so 4 minutes, or I'm sorry, 3 minutes, I apologize, to write an entry into your IDS journal. And when you are done putting that entry, even if it's before the 3 minutes, I want you guys to go ahead and share your questions in the chat, please. Okay. You do not have to put the answers to the questions. No, Katie. Great question. Okay. You don't have to put the answers to the questions. You just got to put the questions because the answers to the questions are already on the table, right? Okay. So I'm starting your 3 minute time now. And remember, if you finish before the 3 minutes or when you're done, please also share your questions in the chat. Okay. Or you can unmute and speak. I would love that too. Seriously. 2 to 3 questions, Valerie. Okay, 2 to 3 questions.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so like if I made a question where it's like how many people like don't have a cat but play an instrument, like would that be a good question?
Yeah, exactly like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're asking questions that can be answered by what you're seeing on the graph.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay, on that note, guys, we have a minute and a half left. All right, guys. So I'm seeing some questions in the chat. Would anyone like to unmute and actually read out their questions? I would really appreciate that.
I'll do it.
I'll do it after. Thanks, Alex.
this why there more students who that don't have a cat who played an instrument? That's my first question.
Okay,
My second
good.
is why is it that the number of students who have a cat that doesn't have a cat have the same number of students that don't play an instrument?
Ah, okay. So, Alex, you ask really good questions, but here's the issue, right? The table doesn't necessarily answer the why. It answers how many, right?
Yeah.
So finding the why is not, we can't answer those questions by looking at the table. We would have to go deeper. We would have to dig deeper and talk to the kids again, right?
Okay.
But these are really good questions, okay? Really good questions. And but unfortunately we can't answer why by looking at the numbers.
Okay.
But really good questions. Destiny Han, go for it.
Okay, I put how many students have a cat but don't play an instrument?
Good.
How many students play an instrument but don't have a cat? And how many students have cats?
Good. So we have one comparison questions, right? Where we're saying yes and no from two different variables. We also have questions that answer stuff for a single variable, like a total. Very good. Maddie, go for it.
I said how many students did not have a cat but played an instrument, and I said how many students were interviewed.
Very good. Yes. Both of those questions can be answered, right? How many students were interviewed? 35. Those were our observations. We have some great questions from you guys as well. David, you asked a very similar question. How many people answered the survey, right? How many people play the instrument? How many people have a cat and don't play an instrument? How many students have cats? Good questions there, Chris. Dario, your question is also a very good question, right? Do the people with pets play their instruments well? But it's very similar to Alexander's, where we didn't ask them if they played their instruments well. We just know whether or not they play an instrument, right? So as much as it's a more deeper question, right? It's a deeper question than do you just play an instrument? Unfortunately, the tally, the two-way frequency table doesn't answer well or poorly. It just answers, do you play an instrument, right? Good, Ishmael. Let's see. Yeah, you already caught it on. There you go, Daria. Okay, so you already caught on. Good job. Good job catching that yourself before I was able to scroll all the way down. All right, so there is a two-way frequency table, and then there's something called a relative frequency table. If you watch any, nerdy shows, and I say nerdy shows because I'm a nerd and I watch them, but you always hear the phrase like, is it like relative to this, it's this, right? Relative in the sense of like statistics or in the sense of academia doesn't necessarily mean kin, right? Relative means a comparison. Okay, so you compare, so instead of saying compared to this alternative, right, you say relative to this alternative, this is a better option, right? So relative is a synonym in this case for comparison. So with a relative frequency to a table, okay, thank you, Trinity. Yes, good questions, hon. Very good questions. With a relative frequency table, we look at how often something occurs in relation to the total number of occurrences. So we're looking at the comparison of how often a specific situation happened compared to the number of observations that we did, or the number of occurrences total, okay? And it's usually expressed in a proportion, aka fraction, or a decimal or percentage, right? So we can get it in a decimal form and then turn it into a percent form. So for example, it says, what is the relative frequency of those who own a cat and play an instrument. Okay, so those who own a cat and play an instrument. Well, there were 7 students that owned a cat and played an instrument. The relative frequency, so essentially how often a student owned a cat and played an instrument compared to the total number of students that were observed, which was 35. So in this situation, to find the relative frequency, we had 7 kids that played an instrument and owned a cat. So that would be 7 out of all the kids that we interviewed, which was 35. So 7 out of 35, when I do that division, 7 divided by 35 is 0.2 or 20%. Okay. Matthew, welcome to class, hon. So that would be our relative frequency, right? We get the 20%. We can do that by moving the decimal over 2 places or just multiplying our decimal by 100 here, okay? So to get the relative frequency, you're gonna take the number of occurrences that actually happened for that situation, that scenario, and you're gonna divide it by the total number of interviewees or the total number of occurrences, okay? So we can turn any frequency table into a relative frequency table. So you're essentially telling me how often a situation happened compared to how many people you actually interviewed, okay? So if I wanted to get the relative frequency for students that do not have a cat and play an instrument, okay, then I can do 10 over 35 because there was 10 kids in that category, which gives me 0.29, aka 29%. And so I can make this comparison here of, okay, so there was 29% of kids that didn't have a cat and played an instrument, and only 20% of kids that had a cat and played an instrument, right? So we can also do that for the total. So suppose I wanted to see, hey, what's the relative frequency of kids that played an instrument compared to the total number of kids? So how many kids actually played in, or what's the percentage of kids that played an instrument out of the class? So I can do the total over 35, and that gives me my 0.49. So 49% of the kids played an instrument. Okay. Yeah, so we would round to the nearest 100th place, David. Yeah. Okay, great question. This is actually rounded, I believe. This is actually rounded. 17 divided by 35, I think, rounds to 0.49. Okay. And then we can do the same. So same thing here. If I wanted relative frequency, 9 over 35, 0.26. This is also rounded. Okay. Same thing here, right? 0.26. And then 18 over 35, we get the 0.51, okay? So something cool that happens here, guys, check this out. 0.2 plus 0.29, add those two together. Oh, look at that, you get 0.49, okay? Over here, because we rounded, right? This is really like 0.255. So we rounded these, so it's a little bit off, 0.51, right? And then we do the totals here as well. 16 over 35, 0.46. These two add to equal that relative frequency. 19 over 35, these two add to equal that relative frequency approximately. Again, because of the rounding, it's a little off. And then 35 over 35 is equal to 1. But check this out. 0.46 plus 0.54 equals 1. 0.49 plus 0.51 equals 1. So it doesn't matter if you're looking at it as a frequency table or a relative frequency table, your totals should still add to each other. The percentages should add to the totals should add up to 1. Okay, so very cool. I'm actually going to give you guys a minute to get this down because this is actually a very important, it's notes, and I've been talking most of the time. So I'm going to give you guys another minute.
Can you move it down?
I don't know if, you know what, let me do this. Let me get out of presentation mode. Come on. And maybe that will help you see it. Do you see it better now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I see it on my screen. I don't know what portions you guys see on your screens. So thank you for that communication. Okay, guys. So I'm gonna leave it in this mode because I see that some of you guys are having your screens are not supporting the PowerPoint in full mode. Okay. So remember that if you missed any part of this lesson, okay, if you missed any part of the lesson, the PowerPoint is linked on the section 3 page, as well as this recorded video for notes will be up shortly by the end of the day. Okay. So this is where you're now going to show me your understanding, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to choose two variables that you think, two categorical variables that you think have some sort of association, okay? And to gather data on those two variables, you're going to come up with two questions to ask, okay? And then you're going to set it up in a two-way frequency table, okay? You're not going to put in numbers. We'll deal with that, and that's in another day. Okay. So right now you're just setting this up. So for example, okay, you're going to choose two variables, and then generate two questions about those two categorical variables. Okay. And the key is try not to choose random variables. Try to choose variables that you think might have some sort of relationship together or some sort of association. So here's an example. Okay. I think there's a relationship between watching scary movies and drinking soda. So my two variables here are scary movies, right? Like watching scary movies and drinking soda. Those are my two variables. The two questions I'm going to ask about these two variables, okay? So it continues. So I'm going to survey family and friends by asking them, first question, okay, do you like watching scary movies, right? So they're asking them, do you like watching scary movies? Second question, do you drink soda? Okay, so variables are watching scary movies, drinking soda. Questions, do you like watching scary movies? Do you like drinking soda? So the questions are your survey questions that you're asking to get responses, okay? So then when you go and you are creating your two-way frequency table, right, you have your two options for your first question. Do you like scary movies? Yes, like scary movies. No, does not like scary movies, okay? And then on the Rose side, second question, drinks soda. So yes, drinks soda, does not drink soda. And then of course your total column and your total row, okay? So you are going to now choose your own two categorical variables that you think have some sort of relationship, that you think are associated together, okay? You're going to choose those two variables. You're going to write your survey questions for those two variables, okay? And then you're going to, Alexander, give me a moment, hon. You're going to see this somewhere else, okay?
Okay.
Okay, and then you're going to create a two-way table. So this is your 1.16 questions and variables assignment. So if we go to our questions and variables assignment here, Looking for our period 4, yep. So if you click on your 1.16 questions and variables assignment, this assignment is going to have you open up the, it's gonna make you make a copy of this sheet right here, okay? You're not putting in the data, Janelle, you're not collecting data. You're just setting up your table right now, okay? Collection of data or surveying will happen at another time, okay? So on this 1.16 questions and variable, you're gonna choose your variables, you're gonna write down your survey questions, okay? And then Alexander Hun, you were asking me to go back. That example that I just went over is right here at the bottom,
Okay.
okay? So it's there for you. Cool. Yeah, put in the poll. That's awesome, Dario and Destiny. Look at you going the extra mile up in there. That'll be interesting to see. Okay. Okay, so this is what you're working on for the next 5 minutes. Okay, I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes in class right now to work on it and think about it. And that way you can ask questions if you have them, right? And you can turn it in later on today. Yes, Janelle, you can turn it in without filling in the table. Yes. Okay. Oop, wrong thing. Okay. You can turn it in without filling in the table. So I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes for this right now. And then we're going to come back and finish up our lesson for today.
So Ms. Kate, are we making the variables off of the chart that talks about soda and scary movies?
No, you're choosing your own 2 variables.
Okay. All right.
So any 2 variables that you think are connected. So maybe, you know, reading books a lot, right? Reading books and wearing glasses. Maybe those are your 2 variables. Or maybe it's screen time and headaches. Maybe you think that screen time is connected with headaches. Maybe it's, you know, your love of a certain character at, you know, in one book and your love of a certain type of music. I don't know, whatever 2 things that 2 variables that you might think are associated together, that you might think have a relationship.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're not doing, Miss. So
Yes.
we're not doing the chart today.
No, you're filling in the options for the chart, but you're not getting data for the numbers.
Okay.
Okay. And Munyahan, the example that I did, the example that's in the slides is also at the bottom of the actual assignment page. Do you see that? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so it's right there. I purposely put it there so you guys, I know you guys would need to refer back to it. Madian, it's not necessarily a comparison. You want to keep your questions yes or no questions. Okay, you want to keep your questions yes or no questions. So you could ask like, do you like going to the beach? And do you like riding your bike? Right? So that way you might, so in my head, that's going like, oh, a lot of people that like going to the beach. I think that people that like going to the beach also like riding their bike. So I'm trying to look at a comparison there. You know, it could be that, do you like going to the park, and do you like rollerblading? Because maybe people that like going to the park like rollerblading more or skateboarding more or whatever, right? So you want to keep your questions yes or no questions, categorical answers, okay? No problem. And we are down to a minute, guys and gals. Okay, almost there. 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you. Can you all come back to our shared screen, please? Okay, I would appreciate you guys coming back to our shared screen here. We just want to finish up our lesson. Natalie, hon, to answer your question, you are putting down the questions. I'm sorry, you are putting down the variables, you are putting down your questions, and you are filling in your chart with the labels, but not the numbers. Yes, Janelle, you are turning in the assignment today without filling in the table yet. Okay, we'll fill in the table another day, and that'll be in another assignment. Okay. So, I actually want to, we're going to close out the lesson with your statements, okay, of give a brief statement about what you think the 3 most important topics of the day were. But I want to remind you of your homework first, okay? I want you guys to remember that our homework is to complete our time use campaign. Continue putting in your 4 entries a day, before school, after school, in the evening, and before bed, okay? And you want to make sure you're putting in your time use so that we can have enough data to analyze for our practicum when the time comes and to work with it, okay? So our homework is simply to just continue inputting for our time use campaign. Now, so your exit ticket for the class, your ticket to leave class is to give me a brief statement about what you think the 3 most important topics of the day were. Please make sure that you are giving me complete sentences, okay? You can unmute and share. Okay, you can unmute and share your statement, or you can type it in the chat. Okay, and once I acknowledge that I have heard or received your statement, I will dismiss you specifically from class. Okay, most important. Okay. Frequency, data collecting, and using and creating statistical questions. Thank you, Maddie. Very good. Have a wonderful day, hon. Stay safe. See you tomorrow. Your most important topics today were our variables, relative frequency, and statistical questions. Okay, great job, Destiny. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, hon. Your frequency tables, relative frequency tables, and variables. Very good. Thank you, Alexander. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. And I want to thank everyone for putting it in publicly in the chat so everyone can see their statements and what they think is important. Great job, David. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Valerie, well written, my dear. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Katie, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Evelyn, well done. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Sarai, well done. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Natalie, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe, hon. Natalie Nieves, good job. Next time, please remember complete sentences, Natalie Nieves. Okay. Ethan, well done. Have a wonderful day, hon. If you want to stay back, we can chat. Amani, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, hon. Well done. Trinity, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Kenya, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Alex Reveles, thank you so much. Please remember complete sentences next time. Have a wonderful day. Ishmael, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, hon. Chris, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Please remember, Chris, complete sentences next time. Vicky, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Well done. Dario, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, hon. Dalvante, well done. Thank you, sir. Have a wonderful day. Maya, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, hon. Munia, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Jade, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Tyrese, great job. Have a wonderful day, hon. Alexis Vargas, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Full complete sentences next time, please. Gabby, same with you. Complete sentences, please. Have a wonderful day. Dallas, well done. I like your statement. Complete sentences. Have a wonderful day. Okay, Chris, thank you so much. William, next time, please. Full sentences. Have a wonderful day. Bye, Munya. Okay, Janelle Hun, I think I dismissed you already. Matthew, are you there?
Bye, Miss.
Bye, Janelle.
Hi, Miss. How are you?
I'm good. Ethan, how are you, hun?
I'm okay. I'm getting there.
What happened? What's going on with you? Wait,
Um.
hold on. Let me stop recording.
Okay.